direction you want. I think I know what basically most people in this country want. They want decency and fairness. They don't want this grotesque level of inequality we have in our society at the present time. So you can't take back control from Brussels only to leave power in Westminster and the City of London. If you leave it to the Tories, power, wealth and opportunity still lie in the hands of the privileged few, not the many. It is because too many decisions are made by a tiny closed circle of people at the top. This isn't North versus South, it's people versus the establishment. Labour in government pioneered devolution. We devolved power to Scotland, Wales and Northern Ireland. We set up regional development agencies across England that for each pound invested delivered £4.50 of economic activity. The Conservatives scrapped the regional development agencies and have devastated local councils and their budgets. Since 2010, the Tories will have cut funding to Liverpool by 340 million, and they penciled in another 90 million over the next 3 years. That's a total budget cut of 67% for the great city of Liverpool. But the Tories are expecting councils to sort out the government's problems. Their answer to their cut of £4.6 billion, get that figure, 4.6 billion in social care, is to tell councils to raise the council tax. The figures simply don't add up. The people who pay the price are those desperate to be cared for and supported in social care. It's paid for by families. It's paid for by a crisis in the NHS. They didn't devolve power, they devolved austerity. The North-South divide in income, jobs and pay is increasing faster than ever. Last year, when 277,000 jobs were created in London, only 1,000 extra jobs materialised in the North-West. And that number fell by 40,000 in the North-East. And spending on transport is grotesquely weighed towards London. Last year, the government spent less than £300 per person on transport spending in the North-West. In London, it's nearly £2,000 per person, 6 times more. It's vital we have a crossrail for the North, an East-West link from Liverpool to Hull and on to Newcastle. A £9 billion commitment that John McDonnell, as the next Labour Chancellor, has today committed to. The corridor of northern cities, stretching from Liverpool and Preston in the west to York and Hull in the east, has an economic and skills catchment big enough to match or even exceed London. There's no reason why not with the right investment. The government is prioritising its own east-west link. That's the one between Oxford and Cambridge. The government should sort out its priorities and commit to build Crossrail for the North now. To unleash the economic potential across the North, we have to rebalance our economy to share power and resources. That's why our proposed National Investment Bank will be supported by a network of regional banks, publicly accountable and locally managed, with specialist knowledge for their areas. These regional banks will break the logjam in the British financial system by bringing closer to locality and by making decisions based on local needs. They will be able to deliver the capital that our current financial system cannot. Labour will not be devolving austerity, we'll be devolving investment. Unbalanced Britain is only becoming more unfair and unbalanced under the Tories, between the rich and the poor, between Westminster and our nations and regions. Labour will challenge that failure. We will redress that by fixing a rigged system that is failing the majority of people. Our mission in the 20th century was to redistribute wealth and reduce inequality. Our mission in the 21st century must be to build on by redistributing power, wealth and opportunity to every part of our nations and regions. That's Labour's will, develop a genuine industrial and regional strategy essential to invest in our economy so that no community is left behind. In post-Brexit Britain, it is vital that government gives the Scottish Parliament, the Welsh Parliament, Metro Mayors, local authorities the powers and resources to not only innovate and generate prosperity, but also, crucially, to reduce inequality as part of their whole policy process. Brexit means we have to develop a long-term plan to build a fairer, more just Britain. So in 2 weeks' time, I'll be holding a summit with European socialist leaders, see how best we can work together to build economic and trading relationships for the benefit of the many. Links with our like-minded friends all across the continent, just as we reach out to friends all across the world, are very important to our party and our movement. It may surprise you to know that joining us at that summit will be the CBI, the Confederation of British Industry. We have a lot of common ground with them. As well as wanting tariff-free access to the single market, we both want rebalanced growth and investment across the UK, from fast-tracking infrastructure spending to building the essential transport and digital links to realise our potential. And we need to invest in skills, as Steve Rotherham pointed out this morning, not cut skills budgets, as the Tories have done. Last year, I told the CBI this would mean increasing corporation tax to pay for university grants and a new educational maintenance allowance, so that no talent is left behind due to the family's inability to pay or the individual student's desperate fear of debt. We want the talents of all, not the few. Many workers in Britain have not had a pay rise for years, and it's absolutely appalling. The average pay of a FTSE 100 chief executive has rocketed to £5 million, which, if you're quick at maths, you'll be ahead of me, but I can tell you is more than 130 times the average of a worker in this country. That's why we'd introduced a minimum wage of at least £10 per hour by 2020, and are looking at the idea of pay ratios, because this injustice has got to be tackled. Britain also needs a transport system that works. When the last Labour government took the East Coast train line into public ownership, over 6 years, it developed a better service, improved passenger satisfaction, and a cheque of £1 billion in profit came back to the Treasury as profits for all of us to benefit from, not the few. So what did the Tories do? You'd have thought that's a great story. No. They re-privatised it. So if elected, let's be clear, when each rail franchise lapses, we will take them back into public ownership. And we need to make housing about homes for the many. As I said earlier, under the Conservatives, homelessness has doubled. House building has fallen to the lowest level since the 1920s. And when we, Labour opposition, proposed that homes for rent should be fit for human habitation, not a very big request. Too much for the Tories? No, they voted that down. Just a simple idea that you could not put something on the market unless it was fit for human habitation was too much of a bureaucratic interference in the free market and the private rented sector. Sorry, we don't accept that. We're going to regulate the private rented sector. We will put decent, affordable homes at the heart of our programme. We'll build more genuinely affordable homes for rent and buy, give renters a new charter of rights, put an end to rough sleeping, and help young people on ordinary incomes buy a home of their own. Council housing has housed millions of people, taken them into a much better place than they would otherwise have been. We're going to put the money back into housing and the building of council housing by the next Labour government. Only Labour has an economic plan that will stimulate the economy and create employment. And finally, we will provide a long-term funding solution to our greatest achievement, the National Health Service, the most civilised thing about this country. And a Labour government would give social care the funding it needs too. These things are absolutely crucial. Thank you for all the work you've done on defending the National Health Service. As Nigel Van said, it will only last as long as there's folk around with the will to defend it. We're folk, we've got the will, and we will defend it. So, a Labour government will hand back wealth and control to people and communities across all our nations and regions. Our economic aims are our social aims as well. A Labour government will shrink the gap in income, wealth, and properly fund the NHS and social care to ensure the elderly and sick get the help they need. A Labour government will ensure that corporations and the richest pay their fair share of taxes. We will end the race to the bottom in the jobs market and guarantee education and employment rights for all. It's time for us to restore hope for this country, to show we can overturn a rigged system and hand power and wealth and opportunity to all people and all communities, to set out a radical and credible plan to create a fairer, more equal society. We built a party and a movement of more than 500,000 members, with millions of affiliated trade unions and supporters. Now more than ever, this country needs a Labour government and Labour metro mayors in our great cities. So let's go out on the doorstep together and make the case for that from now until election day. Let's build the economy we need to get the better society our people deserve. That is what the Labour Party was founded for. That is what we exist for. That is what motivates us. That is what unites us. Let's go together in unity to realise that dream of those that founded our movement, those that dreamt of a society where everyone was valued for the strength of their character, not their background or anything else. That is what socialism is about. That's what our purpose is about. That is what unites us and takes us together. Come together on that journey. Come together to elect a Labour government in Britain. Thank you very much.